There is a simple concept, so simple that the ego will almost certainly overlook it, because the ego loves complicated formulas, secret strategies, dramatic struggles, and endless reasons why your life cannot change until something outside of you changes first. But the soul, that quiet eternal presence within you, recognizes truth not by how complicated it sounds, but by how deeply it settles into your being. And the concept is this: you become what you are already willing to be within yourself before the world gives you permission to become it. You do not wait for the evidence. You become the evidence. You do not wait for the door to open. You become the person who belongs in the room. You do not wait for life to announce your worth. You return to the silent, unshakable knowing that your worth was never missing, never delayed, never outside of you, never dependent upon applause, approval, history, failure, age, circumstance, money, status, or the opinions of frightened people who forgot their own divinity. This one concept can change everything, because most human beings live backward. They say, when I see it, I will believe it. When I receive it, I will feel worthy of it. When I am loved, I will become loving. When I am successful, I will become confident. When my past is healed, I will become free. When the world becomes safe, I will become peaceful. But the great spiritual teachers, the mystics, the poets, the prophets, the philosophers, the ones who touch the unseen fabric of existence, have always whispered the opposite. Believe it within, and you will begin to see it without. Become loving, and love will find its way through you. Become peaceful, and peace will stop being a place you are trying to reach and become the atmosphere you carry. Become free inside, and even the old chains will begin to lose their authority. Become the one who is no longer begging life for confirmation, and life will begin reflecting back the power you had abandoned in yourself. The mistake is not that you have wanted too much. The mistake is that you have asked from the identity of not having. You have prayed while secretly believing you are separate from what you are praying to. You have set goals while secretly feeling unworthy of receiving them. You have imagined a better life while carrying an old self-image that says people like me do not get to live that way. And so you have stood at the doorway of transformation with one hand reaching forward and the other hand gripping yesterday, wondering why the door will not open. But life does not respond only to what you say you want. Life responds to the consciousness from which you are asking. The field responds to identity. The world around you is not merely reacting to your desires. It is reflecting the place inside you from which your desires are born. This does not mean you control every event. It does not mean you should blame yourself for pain, loss, delay, disappointment, or the mysterious movements of life that no human mind can fully explain. It means something far more empowering and far more compassionate. It means that in every circumstance you still possess the sacred power to choose the level of consciousness from which you participate in your life. You may not choose every wave that rises, but you choose whether you meet the wave as a victim of the ocean or as a soul learning how to remember its own depth. You may not control every storm, but you can stop identifying as the broken branch and begin knowing yourself as the rooted tree. You may not rewrite yesterday, but you can stop bringing yesterday's pain into today's altar and calling it your destiny. The simple concept is alignment before evidence, inner being before outer becoming, identity before manifestation. You do not become abundant by chasing abundance from a consciousness of lack. You become abundant by realizing that abundance is first a way of seeing, a way of breathing, a way of trusting, a way of giving, a way of refusing to make fear your financial advisor and scarcity your spiritual teacher. You do not become healed by hating the parts of you that hurt. You become healed by bringing the light of compassion into the rooms within yourself that you once locked in shame. You do not become powerful by defeating the world. You become powerful by no longer being defeated by the false story of yourself. There is a place in you that has never been wounded. I know this sounds impossible to the personality, because the personality has collected every bruise, every rejection, every disappointment, every sentence someone spoke in anger, every opportunity that passed you by, every night you cried and thought no one saw you. The personality has built a museum of pain and called it identity. It walks through those rooms every day and says, this is who I am. This is why I cannot trust. This is why I cannot begin. This is why I cannot love again. This is why I cannot succeed. This is why I must protect myself. This is why I must remain small. But beneath that museum, beneath those stories, Beneath the emotional dust of time, there is a sanctuary, there is a stillness, there is a witness, there is the soul. And the soul was present before the wound, present during the wound, and remains present after the wound. The wound happened in time. The soul belongs to eternity. When you begin to live from that eternal place, you stop asking the past for instructions. You stop letting old pain sit at the head of the table. You stop allowing memories to vote on your future. You stop saying, because this happened, I cannot become. You begin saying, because I am still here, something greater is still moving through me. Because I have survived what was meant to shrink me, there must be a strength in me that is not ordinary. Because I have been broken and still desire love, because I have been disappointed and still dream, because I have been afraid and still seek light, there is proof that the divine has not finished speaking through my life. The ego wants achievement to be a conquest. The soul knows achievement is an expression. The ego says, I must get there to prove I am somebody. The soul says, I am somebody already, and what I create is simply the fragrance of that remembrance. The ego says, look at me, validate me, praise me, rescue me, fear me, envy me. The soul says, let me serve, let me give, let me become a clear instrument, let me allow something higher to move through my hands, my words, my decisions, my relationships, my work, my silence. When you create from ego, even success exhausts you, because you must constantly maintain an image. But when you create from soul, even effort becomes sacred, because you are not trying to become worthy, you are expressing the worth that was placed in you before the world taught you to question it. This is why so many people reach what they thought they wanted and still feel empty. They climb the mountain carrying the belief, when I get to the top, I will finally be enough. But the top of the mountain cannot heal a consciousness of insufficiency. The applause cannot heal a life built on self-abandonment. The money cannot heal a mind addicted to fear. The relationship cannot heal the wound of not belonging to yourself. The achievement cannot give you an identity that you refused to claim before the achievement arrived. And so the soul, in its infinite mercy, keeps calling you inward, not to make you passive, not to make you withdraw from life, but to show you that life works from the inside out. Apply this concept to anything you desire. Do not ask first, how do I get it? Ask, who must I become within myself to be a match for it? And more deeply still, what part of me already knows how to live there? Because the truth is, the highest version of you is not in the future. The highest version of you is in the present, buried beneath fear, habit, resentment, and the old hypnotic trance of limitation. The future you are trying to reach is not a distant stranger waiting at the end of time. It is the truest self within you, waiting for your permission to come forward now. If you want peace, do not postpone peace until every person behaves as you wish. That is not peace. That is control wearing spiritual clothing. Peace begins when you decide that no one's unconsciousness gets to govern your nervous system. Peace begins when you stop rehearsing the argument in your mind and start asking, what would love do with this energy? Peace begins when you refuse to drink poison and call it loyalty to your pain. Peace begins when you understand that forgiveness is not saying what happened was right. Forgiveness is saying, I will no longer rent out sacred space in my heart to the person or event that harmed me. Forgiveness is the soul reclaiming its real estate. Forgiveness is the decision to stop using yesterday as a weapon against the possibility of today. If you want abundance, do not wait until there is more to bless what is already here. Gratitude is not a reaction to abundance. Gratitude is the doorway into abundance. When you bless what you have, you are not pretending that you do not want more. You are refusing to insult the present while asking it to become your future. You are saying, I recognize the seed even before I see the tree. I recognize the stream even before it becomes the river. I recognize that life is already giving, already circulating, already breathing me, feeding me, teaching me, preparing me. The person who cannot be grateful for the small cup will often spill the larger one, because abundance without consciousness becomes consumption. But abundance with reverence becomes stewardship. It becomes service. It becomes expansion that benefits not only you, but everyone touched by your presence. If you want love, become loving where you are, not naive, not self-sacrificing in a way that betrays your spirit, not available for abuse, but loving in the way the sun is loving. It shines because shining is its nature. It does not negotiate with the window. It does not ask the flower to deserve warmth. It gives because it is full. Love in its highest form is not a bargain, it is a state of being. And when you live from that state, you no longer approach relationships as a starving person searching for someone to become your source. You approach them as a whole, being willing to share the overflow. You stop asking, who will complete me? You begin asking, who can meet me in truth while I remain complete in God? That changes everything. It changes who you attract. It changes what you tolerate. It changes how you speak. It changes how you leave. It changes how you stay. If you want success, become faithful to the inner call, even before the outer reward. Most people abandon their calling because the world does not clap quickly enough. They plant a seed on Monday and dig it up on Friday because it has not become a forest. They call it realism, but often it is wounded impatience. They say it is not working, when in truth the invisible roots are forming beneath the soil. Every great creation has a hidden season. The child forms in the womb before it is held in the arms. The dawn gathers light before the horizon turns gold. The oak spends years becoming strong where no one applauds. You too must learn to honor the invisible season. Do not despise the period when nothing seems to be happening. That may be the sacred interval where everything necessary is happening beneath your awareness. There is a kind of action that comes from panic, and there is a kind of action that comes from alignment. Panic runs in circles and calls it discipline. Alignment moves with clarity and calls it trust. Panic says, I must force this or I will be nothing. Alignment says, I will give everything I have, but I will not make my worth dependent on the outcome. Panic compares. Alignment creates. Panic imitates. Alignment listens. Panic burns out because it is powered by fear. Alignment endures because it is powered by purpose. The simple concept does not remove effort, it purifies effort. It turns striving into devotion. It turns ambition into expression. It turns discipline into love. It turns work into prayer. It teaches you to do the thing not because you are desperate to become enough, but because something within you is asking to be born. There is a book in you, a business in you, a healing in you, a conversation in you, a forgiveness in you, a song in you, a new way of living in you, and these things do not need your fear. They need your permission. They need your willingness to stop arguing for the old self. They need your willingness to show up before you feel ready, speak before you feel perfect, begin before the road is fully lit, and trust that the light often appears only as far as your next step. Many people wait for confidence, but confidence is often the child of movement, not the parent of it. You do not always feel confident and then begin. Sometimes you begin trembling and confidence grows because you kept your promise to yourself. Sometimes you walk into the unknown with your knees shaking, and the soul says, finally, you are no longer making fear your master. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the remembrance of a greater presence within you than fear. Courage is saying, I feel the fear, but I will not bow to it. I hear the old voice, but I will not obey it. I see the old pattern, but I will not renew my contract with it. You have to be very careful with the words, I am. Those two words are not casual. They are creative. They are declarations at the altar of consciousness. When you say, I am tired, I am broken, I am unlucky, I am too old, I am not enough, I am always rejected, I am never chosen, you are not merely describing a feeling. You are rehearsing an identity. Feelings pass through you like weather. Identity becomes the climate. So learn to speak from the eternal, not from the temporary. You may feel afraid, but do not say, I am fear. You may feel grief, but do not say, I am grief. You may feel uncertainty, but do not say, I am lost. Say instead, I am the awareness through which this feeling is passing. I am the light before the cloud. I am the soul learning to stand in truth. I am guided. I am willing. I am loved. I am available to a higher way. I am not what happened to me. I am what chooses now. The ancient wisdom traditions understood this. The Tao speaks of alignment with the way, the current beneath all things. The mystics speak of surrender, not as defeat, but as union with a higher intelligence. The philosophers remind us that we do not suffer only from events, but from the meanings we attach to events. The great spiritual teachers tell us that the kingdom, the peace, the treasure, the light, the source, the answer is within. And yet the modern mind keeps running outward, looking for a sign, a strategy, a person, a possession, a credential, a number, a platform, something to finally say, now you may begin. But the soul says, begin now, and the sign will meet you on the road. You do not need the whole staircase, you need willingness. You need inner consent. You need to stop treating your calling as though it must first be approved by your fear. Fear will never approve your expansion. The ego will never vote for its own dissolution. The old self will never celebrate the birth of the new self without resistance. That resistance does not mean you are failing. It means the familiar is losing its throne. When you decide to live from a higher identity, the old voices will become loud for a while. They will tell you to return to comfort, return to resentment, return to procrastination, return to self-doubt, return to the old explanation of who you are. Bless them, but do not follow them. They are echoes, not commandments. They are habits, not truth. The concept is simple, but it asks everything of you. It asks you to stop outsourcing your inner state. It asks you to stop saying, I would be different if they had been different. It asks you to stop making your childhood, your mistakes, your losses, your betrayals, your critics, your age, your bank account, your body, your education, your environment, the final author of your life. It asks you to reclaim the pen, not with arrogance, but with reverence. Not by denying pain, but by refusing to let pain be the only narrator. Not by pretending everything is easy, but by remembering that your spirit was designed for more than repetition of yesterday. And perhaps this is where healing truly begins. Healing begins the moment you realize you do not have to keep becoming the person your wounds trained you to be. Maybe your wounds trained you to be guarded, but your soul is still capable of intimacy. Maybe your wounds trained you to be silent, but your soul still has a voice. Maybe your wounds trained you to expect abandonment, but your soul can learn belonging. Maybe your wounds trained you to hide, but your soul came here to shine. The wound may explain the pattern, but it does not have to excuse its continuation. Awareness gives you choice. Choice gives you freedom. Freedom gives you a new life. Every morning, before the world reaches for you, return to this knowing. Before the phone, before the noise, before the opinions, before the list of problems, sit quietly and remember who you are. Not the name, not the story, not the role, not the resume, not the wound, not the fear. Who are you beneath all of that? You are awareness. You are life expressing. You are a divine idea taking temporary form. You are not a beggar in the universe. You are a participant in creation. You are not here to merely survive the calendar. You are here to awaken within time while remembering eternity. You are here to become a clean channel through which love, wisdom, creativity, courage, and compassion can enter the world. And when you remember this, your goals change their energy. They are no longer desperate attempts to fill a spiritual emptiness. They become sacred assignments. You may still want to build, achieve, prosper, create, serve, love, travel, write, teach, heal, lead, give, expand, but now the energy is different. You are not chasing life. You are cooperating with life. You are not demanding that the universe fix your emptiness. You are allowing the fullness within you to take shape. This is why the same action can carry different results depending on the consciousness behind it. A word spoken from insecurity creates defense. The same word spoken from love creates healing. A decision made from fear creates contraction. The same decision made from alignment creates expansion. A dream pursued from ego creates exhaustion. The same dream pursued from soul creates inspiration. The world is not asking you to become someone else. It is asking you to stop being loyal to the false self. That false self is the collection of adaptations you made in order to be accepted, protected, praised, or safe. It is not evil. Do not hate it. It once tried to help you. It learned to please, perform, hide, control, attack, withdraw, overwork, underdream, pretend, numb, and prove. Thank it for trying to protect you, and then gently tell it that it no longer gets to drive. There is a wiser presence within you now. There is a deeper intelligence available. There is a still, small voice that does not shout, because truth does not need to compete for authority. It waits until you are quiet enough to hear it. And this is important. Alignment is not something you achieve once and possess forever. It is a daily return. You will forget, you will react, you will compare, you will become impatient. You will feel the old resentment rise, the old fear tighten, the old doubt speak. Do not turn those moments into evidence that you have failed. They are invitations to return. Spiritual growth is not perfection. It is the shortening of the distance between forgetting and remembering. It is the ability to say, I have wandered from myself, and now I return. I return to love. I return to trust. I return to my breath. I return to the present moment. I return to the inner knowing that I am not alone. I return to the concept that changes everything. I become within, and then I move without. Do not underestimate the power of a single inner shift. A shift in identity can do what years of forcing could not do. The person who says, I am trying to quit, carries a different energy than the person who says, I am no longer someone who abandons my body. The person who says, I hope I can succeed, carries a different vibration than the person who says, I am available to disciplined, inspired, consistent action. The person who says, I need someone to love me so I can feel whole, lives in a different world from the person who says, I am whole, and from wholeness I welcome love. Words do not create magic by themselves. They become powerful when they are married to feeling, decision, repetition, and aligned action. But every new life begins as a new agreement within consciousness. You are always living inside agreements. Some were chosen consciously, many were inherited. You agreed, perhaps without knowing it, that life is hard, that love leaves, that success requires suffering, that people cannot be trusted, that money is spiritual danger, that your dreams are unrealistic, that your voice does not matter, that your body is not acceptable, that your past is permanent, that your family pattern is your fate. But an agreement is not a law. It is a contract of attention. And what you have agreed to unconsciously, you can release consciously. You can say, I no longer agree to see myself as powerless. I no longer agree to make fear sacred. I no longer agree to confuse struggle with worthiness. I no longer agree to call my limitations humility. I no longer agree to live as though the divine made a mistake when it breathed life into me. This is not vanity, this is reverence. To diminish yourself is not holiness. To reject the gifts placed in you is not modesty. To hide your light does not make the world brighter. There is a humility that is really fear dressed in spiritual language. True humility does not say, I am nothing. True humility says, of myself, the little ego is limited, but through the divine source within me, possibilities beyond my personal history can unfold. True humility makes you available. It lets you be used by life. It lets you succeed without worshiping success and fail without becoming failure. It lets you stand tall without standing above anyone. It lets you shine without needing others to become dim. When you understand this, you stop competing with the journey of others. A flower does not look at the tree and say, I have failed because I am not tall. A river does not envy the mountain. The moon does not apologize for reflecting light rather than producing it. Each thing in nature fulfills its essence, and you too have an essence. Your path may not look like anyone else's. Your timing may not obey the impatient standards of the world. Your unfolding may have taken longer because the roots had to go deeper. Do not curse your timing. Do not compare your hidden preparation to someone else's public harvest. What is yours is not late when you are aligned. What is yours is not lost when you are listening. What is yours cannot be blocked by what is not for you. There will be moments when life asks you to release what you thought was the answer. This is one of the highest tests of trust. The ego clings to forms. The soul trusts essence. The ego says it must be this person, this opportunity, this location, this exact outcome, or I am abandoned. The soul says, I welcome the highest expression of what is aligned with love, purpose, and truth, even if it arrives in a form my limited mind did not expect. Sometimes the closed door is protection. Sometimes the delay is refinement. Sometimes the loss is the clearing of space for a truer life. Sometimes what did not happen for you was as merciful as what did. You may not see it immediately. The mind demands instant explanation. The soul can live inside mystery without losing faith. Faith is not believing that everything will happen exactly as you want. Faith is trusting that who you truly are cannot be destroyed by what happens. Faith is trusting that there is intelligence woven into the fabric of existence, and that when you align with love, integrity, gratitude, forgiveness, and inspired action, you are cooperating with that intelligence. Faith is not passive. Faith moves. Faith writes the page. Faith makes the call. Faith starts again. Faith apologizes. Faith forgives. Faith rests. Faith plants. Faith waits. Faith listens. Faith acts. Faith says, I do not need to manipulate life. I need to participate in truth. So begin there. Begin not by asking, what can I get? Begin by asking, what truth can I embody today? Can I embody patience before the outcome changes? Can I embody abundance before the money arrives? Can I embody love before the relationship appears? Can I embody courage before the fear disappears? Can I embody discipline before motivation visits me? Can I embody forgiveness before the other person understands? Can I embody peace before the world becomes quiet? This is mastery. This is where miracles begin, not as violations of natural law, but as revelations of a higher law you had forgotten to live by. The outer world may take time to rearrange, but the moment you shift within, you are no longer the same person walking through it. That alone is a miracle. The same room feels different when you enter it with presence. The same task feels different when you bring devotion. The same conversation feels different when you are not begging to be validated. The same challenge feels different when you know it is not here to define you, but to reveal where you are, still giving your power away. Everything becomes material for awakening. Nothing is wasted. The mistake teaches, the delay strengthens, the rejection redirects, the silence deepens, the uncertainty humbles, the love expands. The loss opens, the dream calls. And one day, you may look back and realize that what you were trying to achieve was never just about the achievement. It was about who you became when you stopped abandoning yourself. It was about the moment you decided to no longer consult your fear before honoring your soul. It was about the day you stopped asking the world to make you feel divine and began living from the divine presence within you. It was about the quiet morning when you chose gratitude instead of complaint. The difficult evening when you chose forgiveness instead of resentment. The uncertain hour when you chose action instead of paralysis. The lonely season when you chose self-respect instead of self-pity. The invisible season when you kept going because something sacred inside you said, "Do not stop now." You will achieve anything that is truly aligned with your soul when you stop treating achievement as a rescue mission and begin treating it as an expression of your inner being. You will achieve what is meant for you when you become internally available to it. You will achieve not by hating where you are, but by blessing where you are while moving toward what calls you. You will achieve not by becoming someone else, but by removing everything that trained you to forget who you are. You will achieve not by forcing the universe to obey your fear, but by letting your life become obedient to love. So today, wherever you are, whatever has happened, whatever has not happened yet, take your hands off the throat of life. Stop strangling the present moment with the demand that it prove your future. Breathe, return, remember, you are not late. You are not disqualified. You are not the sum of your old choices. You are not the opinion of those who could not see you clearly. You are not the fear that visits you at night. You are not the wound. You are not the waiting. You are not the closed door. You are not the temporary emotion passing through your body. You are the awareness, the chooser, the witness, the beloved expression of a divine intelligence that does not create without purpose. Stand in that identity, gently but firmly. Walk today as someone who is no longer auditioning for worth. Speak today as someone who knows words are seeds. Choose today as someone who understands that every decision is a vote for an identity. Work today as someone who brings the sacred into the ordinary. Love today as someone who does not need to possess in order to bless. Release today as someone who trusts that empty hands can receive. Forgive today as someone who prefers freedom over being right. Dream today as someone who knows imagination is not escape, but a preview of possibility when joined with faith and action. This simple concept will not make you invincible to life's changes, but it will make you deeply rooted. It will not prevent every storm, but it will teach you that you are more than the weather. It will not guarantee that every desire comes in the exact form your ego selected, but it will align you with a life that is more truthful, more expansive, more peaceful, and more powerful than the one fear designed for you. You will still have human moments. You will still cry. You will still question. You will still grow. But beneath it all, there will be a knowing, I am not trying to become worthy. I am living from worth. I am not chasing the divine. I am opening to the divine. I am not waiting for life to begin. I am beginning life from within. And as you live this way, day after day, breath after breath, choice after choice, the world around you begins to change because the world within you has changed. The opportunities you once overlooked become visible. The courage you once begged for becomes available. The peace you once postponed becomes present. The love you once chased begins to flow through you. The dream you once feared becomes a responsibility you are willing to honor. And you realize, with tears perhaps, with gratitude perhaps, with a quiet smile that needs no witness, that the door was never locked from the outside. You are always being invited to turn inward. Remember who you are. and live from that remembrance. That is the simple concept. Become it inside. Live it now. Let your thoughts, words, feelings, and actions align with the truth of your being before the evidence arrives. Do not wait for permission from circumstances. Do not wait for the old story to agree. Do not wait for fear to feel safe. Step into the identity your soul has been whispering all along. You are capable. You are guided. You are loved. You are more than the frightened self you have mistaken for truth. You are an instrument of creation. You are a living doorway through which something beautiful can enter this world. And when you finally stop arguing with your own light, when you stop postponing your freedom, when you stop asking the past to approve your future, you will discover that what you called achievement was really awakening. What you called success was really alignment. And what you called becoming was simply the long, sacred journey of returning to the self that God, life, spirit, source, the eternal presence within you always knew you were.